Beeswax week was rough. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Lacey. I'm an over 40 no niche creative using weekly themes to declutter my art supplies and my fabric stash. And this is the wrap up for what I made for Beeswax week. I was sick, but I kind of wanted to stay on track. I did some things anyway. Maybe it didn't lead to the most patient of decisions in a couple of cases. I had 3 projects. I knew I was going to make beeswax wraps. I knew I was going to use some encaustic medium. And I knew I wanted to use Ankara fabric. Hi. Hi, Lincoln. All right, Lincoln, Nebraska. I did get cab company. So I did make beeswax wraps. I have been using them to wrap my breakfast burritos I take to work. I've used them to cover dishes. I would say I was just trying to get the most out of a fat quarter, and I didn't really pay attention to recommended measurements from other people who have made them. And I think I cut them a little small. Like this would be fine for half of an avocado. But for the most part, like I said, I'm taking sandwiches, like breakfast burritos or wraps to work. So I actually think this size works better. I have a lot of tactile sensitivities, and I don't like the way certain things feel. At first, they felt really weird. And I didn't even include any pine rosin or jojoba oil in mine because I didn't have any, and I wasn't trying to buy a bunch of new stuff just to finish a project when I could just see how this worked out. So as I'm using them, they kind of feel more like fabric, and it's not a bad, you get used to it. But this one that I haven't used yet, you can feel like the wax on it. But I think people like them to be sticky so that they work like saran wrap. I'm not really going for that. But as far as wrapping up food, taking food to work, pretty successful. If I had to rate it, these would be like, I don't know, they're functional, maybe like an 8 out of 10. And they are cute. I find myself reaching for them when I'm cooking or making food. So that's a good thing. So that's successful. Less successful, one might say, was when I tried to wax fabric. I mentioned in my intro video the waxing canvas. Wax canvas is a kind of pricey material for bag making. And I thought, oh, I'll just make my own. Turns out there's a reason it's expensive, and there's a reason you might want to buy it. You want a consistent product. You don't want to mess around. Waxing canvas, waxing fabric was nothing but messing around. Just like kind of fun in that messy, abstract expressionist kind of way, but not necessarily, I wouldn't say it was necessarily the best results. Also, because I was sick, I was less patient. I was just throwing things in pots. I added some paraffin, I didn't check measurements, and I ended up with some really inconsistent results. So there's like a ton on this one. Basically, I made myself more work for later. The only one that kind of worked in the way that wax canvas usually looks is this piece of linen, and it's still not completely saturated. I think you're probably supposed to put multiple layers on, and I was tired. This was a remnant. I've been sitting it with the purpose of trying to wax it. It was kind of boring, and I knew that it would take to color well, so I did have the intentions to use alcohol inks first and heat set it and then do wax, but like I said, I was feeling pretty tired, pretty impulsive, and I just wanted to get through everything. So I did what you should not do, which is apply alcohol inks to wax, because it doesn't go together. So they're just kind of sitting on top. It doesn't actually, it does transfer to your fingers. So, so this one is probably a 1 out of 10. There's like thick layers of wax. That was, I said I was going to do experiments, and I did. And I don't know, some of this might be salvageable down the road. But overall, waxing fabric, while you have COVID, 2 out of 10. Okay. I don't know why I'm doing reviews this week. In moon phases week, I had a pretty consistent outcome, and in Beeswax week, I did it. So I feel like it's fair to put it out there. Yeah, they're not all going to be wins. So the other thing was messing with encaustic medium. I was trying to coat some pieces that I had already made cork with wax on it. Not great. See, not as pliable as you'd want it to be. I did make a video of just the encaustics melting, because that at least was pretty satisfying to watch. And then I had this fern from my parents' house from last March that's been in the freezer, and I used for some jelly plate printing. So I actually used one of the ferns from there to make the jelly plate print, the monotype, and then applied the real fern and just poured wax over it. And it is like crunchy still, and it kind of sheds on things. So I don't know, encaustic medium, there are people that do really cool things with it. It is far smellier than the beeswax alone. So why I choose to do these things in January, I don't know. Oh, I'd say maybe these are the most successful. So if the encaustics was like a 3 or 4 out of 10, at least I made these big wax earrings. And I put a coat of wax on them, punched a hole, used the really easy earring hooks. I haven't worn them out yet, but so far these are at least like a 7. That was one of the only things I did have to buy for this week. I bought some more earring hooks because I was almost out, and I did buy some small jump rings for my next project, and that was just necessity. And I'm gonna allow myself a little bit of that if it helps me use up something that's been sitting around for years. Thankfully, as the week went on and I felt better, a little more energy, and decided to use the Ankara fabric. And what I made was 2 bags. So I used the blue swallows print on the outside, the exterior, and the yellow. And the pattern that I chose, I'll put the info in the description, is from Needle and Anchor. Shows the interior, which is pretty unusual, and I thought that's the perfect way to use these fabrics in combination together. I do love this webbing. I think overall the mix of patterns works well. So that I made at the same time. I do like to cut multiple bags. Sometimes I get too overexcited and cut too many fabrics, and then they sit for a while to actually finish the bag. But I'd say this was actually a really quick sew, especially now that I know how it goes together. Definitely recommend. And it's big and roomy, and I skipped the pockets on the inside, and it made it go really, really quick. Okay, so star of the week, star of beeswax week. Doesn't have much to do with beeswax, but I made a pink pony bag. Pink Pony Club bag, because that song has been on a loop at the shop, and I think it made its way into my brain. This fabric with the mint green horses on it, this Ankara, into pink. I kept making accessories for it. So made a shaker, a tassel. There's going to be a tutorial for the shaker. And the shaker actually has tiny little unicorns in it. So 10 out of 10. All in all, every week that I do something for this channel is going to be considered a successful week, because I have not only made videos or tutorials, but I've used the things that I've trying to use, and I've probably made an idea. Even if that idea wasn't successful, I still made it, and that's better than it just sitting on a list in a notebook. At the very least, I have of the things that weren't as successful, I at least have a better understanding and idea of waxing canvas and using canvas for bags. And down the road, when I decide to try to use that, if I have to put another layer of wax, I'll have already gained a little more insight and experience. So there's no bad weeks. No bad weeks. Some things I didn't have plans for turned out even better than expected. So that's why it's worth it to just start making things. Just start using what you have. Sometimes all it takes is a theme. So the theme was pink. Like, just look for things that are pink. So I found a pink button. I found this pink resin. I had the chrome vinyl, and I sprayed the back pink with alcohol ink. And yes, it does turn your fingers pink. But like, I made a whole shaker. The parameters are so helpful, because you could have went out and bought more things to coordinate, but you can also make them. From the failed fabric to the pink pony bag, there's a range, but overall I did it. I made it. It wasn't there before, and now it is. So success.